Faye despises Earth's primitive breeding practices. The Orcadian ambassador's iridescent blue skin shimmers with rage as she hurls a priceless human artifact across the embassy's main hall. Her forearms work in furious tandem, ripping paintings from walls and overturning furniture. The chaos erupts on live feeds across the globe. Faye's tirade against humanity's reproductive customs, igniting a diplomatic firestorm. Terry Phillips rushes through the embassy doors, his human diplomat credentials granting him access to the unfolding disaster. He's been tasked with diffusing the situation, but the sight that greets him is far worse than he imagined. Faye towers over him, her alien physique rippling with barely contained fury as she demolishes centuries of human culture. "Ambassador Faye, please," Terry calls out, ducking a flying shard of pottery. "We can discuss this rationally." Faye's head snaps towards him, multifaceted eyes narrowing. In an instant, she's upon him. Her forehands grip Terry's limbs, pinning him against the wall with effortless strength. Terry gasps, overwhelmed by her alien presence. Then it happens. A jolt of unexpected arousal surges through Terry's body. To his shock, he sees Faye's eyes widen in mirror response. For a heartbeat, they remain frozen, the air between them electric with unfamiliar tension. Faye releases him abruptly, stumbling backward. Confusion and something akin to fear flicker across her alien features. Without another word, she retreats deeper into the embassy, leaving Terry breathless and bewildered in the wreckage. As Terry gathers his wits, his comm unit buzzes. Earth's governments have convened an emergency session. Faye's outburst threatens to unravel humanity's standing in the galactic community. War looms on the horizon. Terry's superior appears on the holodisplay. "Phillips, you're our last hope. Find a way to change the ambassador's perception of humanity. If you fail, we risk expulsion from the Galactic Federation. We'll be defenseless against hostile alien races." The weight of his species' fate settles on Terry's shoulders. As he surveys the destruction around him, an audacious plan begins to form. The unexpected attraction between himself and Faye could be the key. If he can introduce her to human mating practices, perhaps he can alter her view of Earth's culture entirely. It's a dangerous gambit. Failure means Earth's doom. Success requires navigating alien biology and overcoming centuries of Orcadian prejudice. But as Terry sets his jaw and straightens his diplomatic uniform, he knows it's humanity's only chance. With determined steps, Terry moves deeper into the embassy. He has a mission: seduce the Orcadian ambassador and teach her the pleasures of human intimacy. Earth's future hangs in the balance, and Terry Phillips intends to show Faye exactly why she shouldn't hate their planet or its breeding practices. The fate of humanity now rests on one man's ability to turn an alien's disgust into desire. Terry's heart raced as he made his way deeper into the embassy, his mind whirling with the audacious plan he'd conceived. The fate of humanity rested on his shoulders, and he knew he had to act fast. Taking a deep breath, he approached the ornate door to Faye's private chambers and pressed the communication panel. "Ambassador Faye, this is Terry Phillips. I request an urgent meeting to discuss the incident." After a tense moment, the door slid open with a soft hiss. Terry stepped inside, immediately struck by the alien aesthetics of the room. Curved, organic shapes dominated the space, pulsing with an otherworldly bioluminescence. Faye stood by a large viewport, her forearms now crossed defensively across her torso. "Human diplomat," she said, her multifaceted eyes narrowing. "What more could you possibly have to say?" Terry raised his hands in a placating gesture. "Ambassador, I come with a proposal, one that I believe could bridge the gap between our species and prevent further misunderstandings." Faye's iridescent skin rippled with skepticism, but she gestured for him to continue. "I propose a cultural exchange program," Terry said, his voice steady despite his nerves. "Allow me to show you the depth and beauty of human relationships. In return, perhaps you could share aspects of Orcadian culture with us." Faye's posture shifted, curiosity replacing some of her earlier hostility. "And how do you suggest we implement this exchange?" "I'll personally escort you to various human social gatherings," Terry explained. "You'll observe our customs firsthand, particularly those surrounding relationships and courtship." A flicker of something, Interest, perhaps, passed through Faye's alien features. Very well, human. I accept your proposal. But be warned, any further offense to Orcadian sensibilities will have severe consequences. Over the next few weeks, Terry guided Faye through a whirlwind tour of human social interactions. They attended a lavish wedding, where Faye watched with rapt attention as the couple exchanged vows. The emotional display is intriguing, Faye murmured, her skin shimmering with a new hue that Terry couldn't quite decipher. At a beachside gathering, Terry pointed out the subtle flirtations between young couples, the lingering glances, the accidental touches, the laughter that seemed to bridge the space between two people. Faye's gaze flicked between the humans and Terry, her alien biology struggling to process the unfamiliar sensations she was experiencing. Your species communicates attraction in fascinating ways, she observed, her voice tinged with a note of wonder. As part of their cultural exploration, Terry took Faye to art museums showcasing the beauty of the human form. They stood before Rodin's The Kiss, the intertwined figures frozen in eternal passion. The physical act itself is not so different from Orcadian practices, Faye admitted, her four hands clasped behind her back. But the emotion you infuse into it, that is unique. Their journey through human culture culminated in a visit to a dimly lit dance club. The pulsing music seemed to resonate with something primal in Faye's alien physiology, her skin rippling in time with the beat. "May I have this dance, Ambassador?" Terry asked, extending his hand. Faye hesitated for a moment before placing one of her hands in his. Terry gently pulled her close, guiding her other hands to his shoulders and waist. As they swayed to the slow rhythm, Terry became acutely aware of the warmth radiating from Faye's alien form. "This proximity," Faye whispered, her multifaceted eyes wide, "it triggers unexpected responses." Terry nodded, his own heart racing. "That's the beauty of human intimacy, Faye. It's a connection that goes beyond the physical." As they moved together, Faye's iridescent skin began to pulse with an intensity Terry had never seen before. The shimmering waves of color cascaded across her body, a visible manifestation of the arousal she could no longer deny. Their moment of connection was shattered by the sudden appearance of an imposing figure at the club's entrance. 6 arms, a deep purple exoskeleton, and eyes that blazed with fury. This could only be High Commander Zorn, Faye's superior. "Ambassador Faye!" Zorn's voice boomed across the club, causing the music to screech to a halt. "What is the meaning of this fraternization?" Faye stepped back from Terry, her skin dulling to a muted blue. "High Commander, I can explain—" "Silence!" Zorn growled. "You will return to Orcadia immediately. This behavior is unbecoming of a representative of our species." Terry watched helplessly as Faye was led away, her head bowed in shame. But as she reached the door, she turned back, her eyes meeting Terry's with an intensity that spoke volumes. In that moment, Terry knew he couldn't let it end like this. He approached High Commander Zorn, squaring his shoulders despite the alien's towering presence. "High Commander," Terry said, his voice firm, "I have a proposition for you." Zorn's multiple eyes narrowed. "Speak quickly, human." "Allow me to come to Orcadia as Earth's ambassador," Terry proposed. "I'll continue our cultural exchange, improving relations between our species. It's clear there's still much for both sides to learn." Zorn studied Terry for a long moment, his alien features unreadable. Finally, he spoke. "Your proposal is intriguing. I will consider it." As Faye boarded the sleek Orcadian ship, she and Terry shared one last look. The air between them crackled with unspoken possibilities, a bridge between two worlds that neither had anticipated. Terry watched the ship disappear into the night sky, his mind already racing with plans. He would find a way to Orcadia to explore this unexpected connection with Faye and perhaps change the course of interstellar diplomacy in the process. But as he turned to leave, his comm unit buzzed with urgent news. The Galactic Federation's envoy was en route to Earth, prepared to assess the situation between humans and Orcadians. Their decision could either cement Earth's place in the galactic community or cast humanity into isolation. Terry's eyebrows furrowed. The stakes had never been higher, and the clock was ticking. His mission now extended beyond his feelings for Faye. The very future of Earth hung in the balance. Terry's mind raced as he watched the Orcadian ship vanish into the night sky. The weight of Earth's future pressed heavily upon him, but there was no time to dwell on the enormity of the task ahead. His comm unit buzzed again, this time with an urgent message from Earth's unified government. "Phillips, report to headquarters immediately," the message read. "We have a plan." Within hours, Terry found himself standing before a panel of Earth's top officials, their faces etched with concern. The room hummed with nervous energy as they laid out their bold strategy. "We're sending you to Orcadia," announced the Secretary General, her voice steady despite the audacity of the proposal. "Our scientists have developed an experimental FTL drive. It's untested, but it's our only hope of getting you there before the Federation envoy arrives." Terry's eyebrows shot up. "An untested FTL drive? Is that even safe?" "It's a risk we have to take," replied the chief scientist, his eyes bleary from sleepless nights. "The calculations check out. You should reach Orcadia in 3 days." As the gravity of the situation sank in, Terry nodded grimly. "I'll do it. For Earth." The next few days passed in a blur of intensive preparation. Terry absorbed everything he could about Orcadian physiology and culture, his mind blown from the alien concepts. He learned of their purely functional approach to reproduction, devoid of pleasure or emotional connection. It only reinforced his belief that introducing the concept of intimacy could be the key to changing their perception of humanity. On the day of launch, Terry stood before the sleek experimental ship. Its hull gleamed with an otherworldly sheen, a testament to the advanced technology that would hurtle him across the stars. With a deep breath, he stepped inside and strapped himself in. The journey was a harrowing experience of disorienting lights and stomach-churning sensations as the ship tore through the fabric of space-time. When it finally came to a stop, Terry found himself orbiting a world unlike anything he had ever seen. Orcadia loomed before him, a planet of sweeping crystalline structures that caught the light of its 3 moons. The sky shimmered with hues of deep purple, casting an otherworldly glow across the landscape. As Terry initiated landing procedures, his heart pounded with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. No sooner had his ship touched down than he was surrounded by Orcadian security forces. Their leader, a stern-looking male with 6 muscular arms, stepped forward. "Human," he growled, "you are not authorized to be here. I am Captain Kraz, and you are now detained for illegal entry into Orcadian space." Terry raised his hands in a gesture of peace. "I come as a diplomat, seeking to—" "Silence," Kraz interrupted. "You will be taken for questioning." As Terry was led away, he caught sight of a female Orcadian watching the proceedings with obvious interest. Her iridescent green skin seemed to pulse with curiosity, and her multifaceted eyes never left Terry as he was escorted into a towering crystal structure. Hours passed in a stark holding cell before the door finally opened. To Terry's surprise, it was the green-skinned female who entered, accompanied by Captain Kraz. "This is Dr. Lyra," Kraz announced grudgingly. "She has requested to study you." Dr. Lyra's eyes gleamed with scientific fervor. A human willingly traveling to an alien world. Fascinating. "Captain, I insist this specimen be released into my custody for examination." Kraz's multiple arms crossed in obvious displeasure, but he nodded curtly. "Very well, but he remains under guard." As they made their way to Dr. Lyra's laboratory, Terry's diplomatic instincts kicked in. He turned to the Orcadian scientist, offering a warm smile. "Your skin, it's quite beautiful. The way it shimmers in this light is remarkable." Dr. Lyra's steps faltered, her skin flushing a deeper green. Thank you. This is an unexpected observation." In the lab, as Dr. Lyra began her examination, Terry seized every opportunity to demonstrate human emotional expression and physical affection. He responded to her clinical questions with genuine warmth, touching her arm gently when expressing gratitude for her intervention. "You humans are so tactile," Dr. Lyra noted, her voice tinged with a mix of confusion and intrigue. "Is this common in your species?" Terry nodded, his eyes meeting hers. Touch is an important part of how we connect with others. It can convey comfort, affection, attraction. As he spoke, Dr. Lyra's skin began to pulse with an unfamiliar pattern. She seemed lost in thought, processing this new information about human behavior. Their session was interrupted by a commotion outside the lab. The door burst open, revealing a familiar figure, Ambassador Faye. Her eyes locked onto Terry, a storm of emotions playing across her alien features. "You," she breathed. "You actually came." Terry's heart raced at the sight of her. "Faye, But before he could continue, alarms blared throughout the facility. Captain Kraz's voice echoed over the communication system. "High Commander Zorn is en route. All personnel, prepare for inspection." The atmosphere in the lab crackled with tension. Terry knew he had mere moments to act before his mission, and Earth's future might be lost forever. He turned to Faye and Dr. Lyra, his expression intense. "Listen to me," he said urgently. "What's happening between us, between our species, it's more important than you know. The Galactic Federation envoy is on their way to Earth right now. If we can't prove the value of human-Orcadian relations, Earth could be cast out of the galactic community." Dr. Lyra's eyes widened. The implications of such an event? Faye stepped closer to Terry, her voice low. "What can we do?" Before Terry could respond, the lab doors slid open once more. High Commander Zorn stood in the entrance, his purple exoskeleton gleaming menacingly. His multiple eyes narrowed as they swept across the room, taking in the scene before him. "What?" he growled. "Is the meaning of this? This?" High Commander Zorn's voice echoed through the laboratory, causing Terry, Faye, and Dr. Lyra to freeze in place. Terry's mind raced, searching for the right words to defuse the situation. Before he could speak, Dr. Lyra stepped forward, her skin pulsing with a mix of anxiety and perseverance. "High Commander," she began, her voice steady despite the tension in the room, "we have made a remarkable discovery regarding human-Orcadian interactions, one that could have far-reaching implications for our society." Zorn's multiple eyes narrowed, focusing on the scientist. "Explain." Dr. Lyra gestured towards her instruments. "Our preliminary experiments have shown unprecedented neural activity and hormonal changes when humans and Orcadians engage in physical contact. This could potentially solve our species' declining birth rate issue." The High Commander's posture shifted slightly, a flicker of interest crossing his alien features. "Continue." Sensing an opportunity, Terry stepped forward. "High Commander, what we've discovered goes beyond mere scientific curiosity. It's a chance for our species to truly understand each other, to forge a connection that could revolutionize our relations." Faye moved closer to Terry, her iridescent skin glowing softly. "It's true, Commander. These interactions have triggered responses in my physiology that I never knew were possible." Zorn studied the trio for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Finally, he spoke. "I want to see these experiments for myself. You have one rotation to prepare a full demonstration." As the High Commander turned to leave, Captain Kraz entered the laboratory. His eyes darted between Terry and Faye, a mixture of suspicion and curiosity evident in his gaze. "Sir," Kraz addressed Zorn, "I've been observing their activities. There's something different about the way they interact. It may be worth investigating further." Zorn nodded curtly. "You will oversee the security for tomorrow's demonstration, Captain. Ensure everything is in order." As the two Orcadian officials left, Terry, Faye, and Dr. Lyra exchanged looks of relief and apprehension. They had bought themselves some time, but the real challenge lay ahead. "We need to make this demonstration irrefutable," Dr. Lyra said, her scientific mind already racing with possibilities. "Faye, would you be willing to act as our Orcadian subject?" Faye's skin rippled with a mix of excitement and nervousness. Yes. For the sake of our species' future, I'll do it." Terry's heart raced at the implication. "And I'll be the human subject. We'll show them the full extent of human intimacy and its effects on Orcadian physiology." As they began to plan their demonstration, Terry's comm unit buzzed with an incoming transmission from Earth. The holographic image of a stern-faced diplomat appeared. Phillips, we have a situation, the diplomat said without preamble. The Galactic Federation envoy, Zaron, has arrived. He's not impressed with our progress and is considering recommending Earth's expulsion from the Federation. Terry's stomach dropped. How long do we have? A few days at most. We need you back here immediately to... No, Terry interrupted, an idea forming. We need to bring Zaron here, to Orcadia. We're on the verge of a breakthrough that could change everything. The diplomat's eyebrows shot up. Bring the envoy to Orcadia? That's unprecedented. So, is what we're about to demonstrate, Terry replied firmly. Trust me, this is our best shot. After a moment of hesitation, the diplomat nodded. I'll see what I can do. But Phillips, if this fails... I know, Terry said solemnly. The fate of Earth is in our hands. As the transmission ended, Terry turned to Faye and Dr. Lyra. We need to push our timeline up. If we can get Zaron here to witness our demonstration, we might just save Earth and revolutionize human-Orcadian relations in one stroke. Faye's skin pulsed with dedication. I'll use my diplomatic connections to secure approval for Zaron's visit. It won't be easy, but I think I can make it happen. Dr. Lyra nodded, her multiple hands already adjusting her equipment. I'll refine our monitoring systems. We need to capture every nuance of your physiological responses during the demonstration. As they threw themselves into preparations, word of their upcoming demonstration began to spread through the Orcadian population. The crystal corridors of the facility buzzed with whispers and speculation. Some were scandalized by the idea of such intimate contact with an alien species, while others couldn't hide their curiosity. Captain Kraz, tasked with overseeing security for the event, found himself increasingly intrigued by the unfolding situation. He observed Terry and Faye as they worked together, noting the subtle ways they interacted. A gentle touch here, a lingering glance there. It was unlike anything he had seen in Orcadian society. As the appointed time drew near, Terry and Faye retreated to a private room to prepare themselves mentally and emotionally for what lay ahead. The air between them crackled with unspoken tension and anticipation. Faye, Terry said softly, taking her hands in his. Are you sure about this? There's no going back once we start. Faye's multifaceted eyes met his, shimmering with a mix of nervousness and excitement. I'm sure, Terry. What we're about to do, it's bigger than just us. It's about the future of our species, about proving that love and pleasure can transcend the boundaries of our different worlds. Terry nodded, his heart pounding. He leaned in closer, his voice barely above a whisper. Then let's show them what it means to truly connect. As they embraced, their bodies intertwining in a dance of alien and human forms, Dr. Lyra's instruments began to light up with unprecedented readings. Outside, a crowd of Orcadians gathered, their curiosity overcoming their initial shock. Among them stood High Commander Zorn and Captain Kraz, their expressions a mix of disbelief and fascination. And as the demonstration began in earnest, a sleek ship carrying the Galactic Federation envoy Zaron entered Orcadian airspace, its arrival heralding a moment that would determine the fate of Earth and potentially reshape the future of interstellar relations. The sleek ship carrying Zaron descended gracefully onto the Orcadian landing pad, its arrival sending ripples of anticipation through the gathered crowd. As Zaron disembarked, his imposing figure casting a long shadow in the crystalline light of Orcadia, Terry felt the weight of Earth's fate settle heavily upon his shoulders. The envoy's arrival had accelerated their timeline, leaving little room for error in their crucial demonstration. In Dr. Lyra's laboratory, the air hummed with nervous energy as final preparations were made. Terry watched as the scientist's multiple hands flew across her instruments, making last-minute adjustments to ensure every physiological response would be captured in exquisite detail. The specialized chamber is ready, Dr. Lyra announced, her skin pulsing with a mix of excitement and apprehension. I've calibrated the monitoring devices to pick up even the subtlest changes in your biology. Terry nodded, his eyes meeting Faye's across the room. The Orcadian diplomat's iridescent skin shimmered with an intensity he hadn't seen before, betraying her own nervousness about what lay ahead. As they made their final preparations, the laboratory doors slid open with a soft hiss. High Commander Zorn entered, flanked by Captain Kraz and a group of Orcadian officials. Their multiple eyes scanned the room, taking in the array of unfamiliar equipment. "Ah, High Commander," Dr. Lyra greeted, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. "We're honored by your presence. If you'll follow me, I'll show you to the observation area." As the Orcadian officials took their seats, Terry caught sight of Zarkon entering the laboratory. The Galactic Federation envoy moved with a fluid grace that belied his alien physiology, his expression unreadable as he acknowledged the assembled group with a curt nod. Dr. Lyra began her presentation, her voice clear and confident as she outlined the preliminary findings of her research. "Our studies have shown unprecedented neural activity and hormonal changes when humans and Orcadians engage in physical contact," she explained, gesturing to a holographic display of intertwining neural pathways. High Commander Zorn leaned forward, his multiple eyes narrowing with interest. "And you believe this could address our species' declining birth rate?" "That's correct, High Commander," Dr. Lyra confirmed. "The potential benefits to Orcadian society are significant." As the presentation continued, Terry and Faye exchanged a silent look of understanding. The time had come for them to enter the chamber and put their theory to the test. Terry felt his heart racing as they stepped inside, the soft blue glow of the monitoring equipment casting strange shadows on the walls. "Remember?" Faye whispered, her skin pulsing with a soft light. "This is about more than just us. It's about the future of our species." Terry nodded, taking a deep breath as Dr. Lyra's voice came through the chamber's communication system. "We're ready to begin. Please proceed with the demonstration." With a mix of nervousness and persistence, Terry reached out and took Faye's hand in his own. The simple act of touch sent a visible ripple across Faye's skin, and the monitors outside the chamber immediately began to register increased neural activity. As they progressed to an embrace, Terry could feel the warmth of Faye's alien body against his own. Her skin began to glow with a soft blue light, intensifying as their physical contact became more intimate. Through the observation window, he could see the Orcadian officials leaning forward, their multiple eyes wide with fascination. The demonstration continued, each new level of intimacy producing more dramatic results. Faye's skin luminescence reached a brilliant intensity, bathing the chamber in a radiant blue glow. Terry could hear the excited murmurs from the observation area as Dr. Lyra reported the unprecedented levels of physiological response. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the laboratory. Terry and Faye broke apart, startled by the unexpected sound. Through the chamber window, they could see Dr. Lyra rushing to her instruments, her multiple hands flying across the controls. "Incredible!" Dr. Lyra's voice came through the speaker, filled with awe. "The combination of human and Orcadian physiology has triggered a previously unknown biological process. Faye's body is producing a new type of hormone that could revolutionize Orcadian reproduction." As they emerged from the chamber, Terry could see the impact of their demonstration written across the faces of the assembled officials. High Commander Zorn's earlier skepticism had given way to keen interest, while even the stoic Zarkon showed signs of intrigue. Captain Kraz stepped forward, his voice filled with a mixture of curiosity and concern. "Dr. Lyra, what are the potential applications of this discovery for our society?" As Dr. Lyra launched into an explanation of the possible implications, Terry felt a wave of relief wash over him. They had done it. They had provided irrefutable evidence of the value of human-Orcadian relations. But as he turned to share a triumphant smile with Faye, he noticed a flicker of discomfort cross her features. Her skin was pulsing with an unfamiliar pattern, and she seemed unsteady on her feet. "Faye," he whispered, concern creeping into his voice. "Are you all right?" Before she could respond, Dr. Lyra approached them, her expression a mix of excitement and worry. "I need to run some additional tests," she said quietly. "The new hormone we've discovered, it's having an unexpected effect on Faye's reproductive system." As the implications of Dr. Lyra's words sank in, Terry realized that their groundbreaking discovery had opened up a new set of challenges. The future of human-Orcadian relations hung in the balance, with the potential for either unprecedented cooperation or unforeseen complications. With a shared look of perseverance, Terry and Faye followed Dr. Lyra back to her instruments, ready to face whatever new revelations awaited them. The real work, it seemed, was only just beginning. The real work, it seemed, was only just starting. As they followed Dr. Lyra back to her instruments, Faye stumbled, her iridescent skin flickering erratically. Terry caught her, concern etched on his face. "Faye, what's wrong?" he asked, supporting her weight. Dr. Lyra's multiple hands flew over her instruments, her eyes widening as she interpreted the data. Fascinating and concerning. Faye's reproductive system is hypersensitive. It's as if it's been primed for conception. Faye's skin pulsed with a mix of fear and excitement. "What does that mean for me?" "It means we need to run more tests immediately," Dr. Lyra replied, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "This could have far-reaching implications for you and potentially all of Orcadian society." As Dr. Lyra began her examination, High Commander Zorn approached Terry, his multiple eyes blinking rapidly in what Terry had come to recognize as a sign of intense interest. "Human Terry," Zorn said, his voice low, "what you've shown us today is unprecedented. I'm ordering the establishment of a joint research facility here on Orcadia. Dr. Lyra will lead the scientific efforts, and I want you to remain as our human liaison." Terry's mind reeled at the implications. "High Commander, I'm honored, but I'll need to consult with Earth about—" "Of course," Zorn interrupted, "but I hope you understand the gravity of this moment. The future of our species may well depend on this collaboration." As Terry nodded, absorbing the weight of Zorn's words, a commotion outside the lab caught their attention. Through the crystal walls, they could see a gathering crowd, their voices rising in what sounded like anger. Captain Kraz entered the lab, his usual stoic demeanor replaced by evident concern. "High Commander, we have a situation. A group led by Vex is protesting outside. They're demanding the immediate expulsion of all humans from Orcadia." Terry's heart sank. He'd known there would be opposition, but he hadn't expected it so soon or so vehemently. Zorn's skin darkened with what Terry assumed was frustration. Vex and his isolationists. They fear change, even when it might save us. "Captain, ensure the humans' safety, but handle the protesters with care. We can't afford to inflame the situation further." As Kraz nodded and turned to leave, he paused, looking at Terry with an expression that seemed almost curious. "Human Terry, I would like to speak with you later, if possible, about your research." Surprised by Kraz's sudden interest, Terry agreed, watching as the captain left to manage the growing crowd outside. Meanwhile, Dr. Lyra had finished her initial tests on Faye. The Orcadian diplomat sat on the edge of an examination table, her skin pulsing with rapid, erratic patterns. "Faye," Dr. Lyra began, her voice gentle, "your body is producing a new hormone, one we've never seen before. It's affecting your reproductive system in ways we don't fully understand yet." Faye's multifaceted eyes met Terry's, fear and uncertainty clear in their depths. "What does this mean for me? For us?" Before Terry could respond, a new voice cut through the tension in the room. "It means we have much to discuss." They turned to see Zarkon, the Galactic Federation envoy, approaching with measured steps. His alien features were impassive, but there was an intensity in his gaze that made Terry's skin prickle. "I've reported your findings to the Federation," Zarkon continued. "They're sending a team of our top scientists to assist in the research. This discovery could have implications far beyond Orcadia or Earth." As if on cue, Terry's comm unit buzzed with an incoming transmission from Earth. The holographic image of the stern-faced diplomat appeared once more, his expression even graver than before. "Phillips, we have a situation," the diplomat said, his voice tight with tension. "There's a faction here planning to sabotage the Orcadian research facility. We don't know who or when, but you need to be on high alert." Terry felt the weight of responsibility settle even more heavily on his shoulders. He looked around the room at the assembled aliens, Faye struggling with her newfound condition, Dr. Lyra excited yet apprehensive about the research ahead, High Commander Zorn balancing the needs of his people with the potential for galactic cooperation, and Zarkon representing the interests of the entire Galactic Federation. In that moment, Terry realized that the success of their mission now extended far beyond their personal relationships or scientific discoveries. They were standing at the precipice of a new era in interspecies relations, with the potential for either unprecedented cooperation or catastrophic conflict. As the protests outside grew louder and the weight of Earth's warning hung heavy in the air, Terry knew that the challenges ahead would test not only his diplomatic skills, but also his deepest personal convictions. He exchanged a look with Faye, seeing in her eyes the same mix of grit and uncertainty that he felt. "All right," Terry said, addressing the room. "Let's get to work. We have a lot to do, and not much time to do it." With those words, they began to plan their next steps, each acutely aware that the fate of multiple worlds now rested in their hands. The weight of their responsibility pressed down on them all, but there was no time to dwell on it. As they began formulating their plan, an urgent message from High Commander Zorn interrupted their discussion. "We're calling for a referendum," he announced, his multiple eyes blinking rapidly. "The people of Orcadia will decide the future of human-Orcadian relations." The news sent a ripple of tension through the room. Terry exchanged a glance with Faye, knowing that this development would dramatically intensify their efforts. Over the following days, Terry, Faye, and Dr. Lyra threw themselves into a whirlwind of activity. They organized a series of public demonstrations, setting up holographic displays in Orcadia's bustling city centers. The images of healthy Orcadian infants, projected as potential outcomes of their research, drew crowds of curious onlookers. During one such demonstration, Terry stood before a gathered throng, gesturing to the holographic projections. "This is the future we can build together," he said, his voice carrying over the murmur of the crowd. "A future of healthy children and a thriving Orcadian society." But their efforts didn't go unchallenged. As Terry spoke, a commotion erupted at the edge of the crowd. Vex, the leader of the conservative faction, pushed his way forward, his skin pulsing with angry patterns. "Don't be fooled by these alien promises," Vex shouted, his voice cutting through the air. "They seek to contaminate our genetic purity, to erase what makes us Orcadian." The crowd's reaction was mixed, with some nodding in agreement with Vex, while others shouted him down. As the tension mounted, Captain Kraz appeared with a squad of security officers, quickly moving to separate the opposing factions. Back at the research facility, Dr. Lyra worked tirelessly, her multiple hands flying over complex equipment as she analyzed data from Faye's latest tests. Terry entered the lab, his face etched with concern. "How is she?" he asked, moving to Faye's side. She lay on an examination table, her skin pulsing with an erratic glow. Dr. Lyra's expression was grim. "Faye's condition is deteriorating," she said. "The hormone production is accelerating beyond what her body can handle. If we don't act soon, there could be severe complications." Faye reached out, grasping Terry's hand. "What are our options?" she asked, her voice weak but determined. Dr. Lyra hesitated before responding. "Based on our research, there's only one viable solution. Conception with a human male, specifically Terry, could stabilize your condition." The weight of Dr. Lyra's words hung in the air. Terry and Faye looked at each other, a mix of emotions playing across their faces. The decision before them was monumental, with implications that would reach far beyond their personal lives. "We need time to discuss this," Terry said, his voice thick with emotion. As they grappled with their decision, events outside the facility continued to unfold at a rapid pace. Vex and his supporters staged increasingly aggressive protests, their chants echoing through the streets of the capital. High Commander Zorn, concerned about the escalating situation, summoned Captain Kraz to his office. "I'm assigning you to lead a special security detail," Zorn said, his tone grave. "Protect Terry, Faye, and the research team at all costs. The future of Orcadia may depend on their work." Kraz nodded, a newfound dedication in his eyes. "I understand, High Commander. I won't let you down." As Kraz implemented heightened security measures around the facility, Terry received another urgent communication from Earth. The holographic image of his superior appeared, his face tight with worry. "Phillips, we've intercepted communications suggesting the Saboteurs have already arrived on Orcadia," the diplomat said. "They're disguised as part of a diplomatic delegation. You need to find them before they can act." Terry's mind raced, the challenges before him seeming to multiply by the moment. He had to find a way to expose the saboteurs without causing a diplomatic incident, all while navigating the complex political landscape of the upcoming referendum and grappling with the personal implications of Faye's condition. As he ended the transmission, Terry turned to find Faye standing in the doorway of his quarters. Her skin pulsed with a soft, determined glow. "Terry," she said, her voice steady despite the uncertainty in her eyes, "we need to talk about what Dr. Lyra said about us." Terry nodded, knowing that the decision they were about to make would change everything. As they sat down to discuss their future, the sounds of protest echoed in the distance, a reminder of the tumultuous world waiting just outside their door. The weight of their impending decision hung heavy in the air as they sat down to talk. Before they could begin their discussion, an urgent alert sounded from Terry's comm unit. He activated it to find Captain Kraz's face, his expression tense. "Human Terry, we've detected unauthorized access to the facility's maintenance systems. We suspect the Earth saboteurs have made their move." Terry's heart raced. "I'm on my way," he said, already moving towards the door. He turned to Faye, torn between duty and personal concerns. "We'll finish this conversation soon, I promise." Faye nodded, her skin pulsing with understanding. "Go. Be careful." Terry sprinted through the facility's corridors, his mind racing to formulate a plan. He met Captain Kraz at a security checkpoint, where holographic displays showed the facility's layout. "They've infiltrated through the waste management system," Kraz explained, pointing to a blinking red marker on the map. "We've sealed off the surrounding areas, but they're moving fast." Terry studied the display, his training kicking in. "They'll be headed for the main data core. We need to cut them off before they can upload any virus or steal our research." As they moved to intercept the intruders, the facility's alarms blared to life. The sound of running feet and shouting voices filled the air as security personnel rushed to their stations. Terry and Kraz rounded a corner to find two figures in maintenance uniforms attempting to access a secured terminal. "Stop right there!" Kraz shouted, his hand on his weapon. The saboteurs spun around, their faces contorting with panic. One of them pulled out a small device and threw it to the ground. A blinding flash filled the corridor, momentarily disorienting Terry and Kraz. When Terry's vision cleared, he saw one of the intruders sprinting down the hallway while the other grappled with Kraz. Without hesitation, Terry took off after the fleeing saboteur. The chase led them through winding corridors and past startled researchers. Terry's human physiology gave him an edge in the pursuit, his longer strides slowly closing the gap. As they approached the main data core, Terry lunged forward, tackling the saboteur to the ground. They struggled, rolling across the floor until Terry managed to pin his opponent. "It's over," Terry panted, securing the saboteur's hands behind his back. But the saboteur's face twisted into a grin. "You're too late," he spat. "The virus is already in your system." Terry's blood ran cold. He activated his comm unit. "Dr. Lyra, check the main systems now. They've released a virus." In the medical bay, Dr. Lyra's multiple hands flew over the control panels. Her eyes widened as she saw the cascading failures across the facility's network. "The virus is corrupting our research data," she called out to her team. "And it's interfering with the medical equipment monitoring Faye's pregnancy." As if on cue, Faye let out a cry of pain. Dr. Lyra rushed to her side, her skin pulsing with concern. "Faye, what's wrong?" Faye clutched her abdomen, her face contorted in agony. "The baby," she gasped. "Something's happening." Dr. Lyra quickly scanned Faye with a handheld device, her expression growing more alarmed by the second. "The virus has disrupted the stasis field we were using to control the accelerated gestation. The baby is coming now." Outside the facility, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. Vex's supporters had gathered in force, their angry chants echoing through the streets. They clashed with pro-human demonstrators, the violence threatening to spiral out of control. High Commander Zorn stood in his command center, watching the chaos unfold on multiple screens. He turned to his advisors, his skin dark with worry. "We cannot allow this to continue. Prepare to invoke emergency powers. We may need to postpone the referendum." As Zorn spoke, a new alert flashed across the screens. A massive ship was descending through Orcadia's atmosphere, its design unmistakably that of the Galactic Federation. In the research facility, Terry raced back to the medical bay, his heart pounding with fear and anticipation. He burst through the doors to find Dr. Lyra and her team surrounding Faye, who lay on an examination table, her skin pulsing erratically. "Terry!" Faye called out, reaching for him. He rushed to her side, taking her hand in his. Dr. Lyra looked up from her instruments, her expression grave. "The virus has compromised our systems. We're losing control of the birth process. We need to make a decision now." Terry looked from Faye to Dr. Lyra, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. "What are our options?" Dr. Lyra's voice was steady despite the urgency of the situation. "We can attempt to stabilize Faye and delay the birth, but it's risky, or we can proceed with an emergency delivery. However, our initial scans show some unique physiological changes in the fetus. If we can extract and analyze this data, it could provide a breakthrough for both the Orcadian fertility crisis and the issues with the synthetic hormone treatment." Terry felt the world narrow to this single moment, the fate of two species balanced against the life of the woman he loved and their unborn child. Outside, he could hear the distant sounds of conflict, a stark reminder of the larger stakes at play. As Terry grappled with the impossible choice before him, Captain Kraz burst into the medical bay. "Human Terry," he said, his voice urgent. "The Galactic Federation has arrived. Their envoy, Zaron, is demanding to speak with you immediately." Terry looked from Kraz to Faye, torn between his personal fears and his diplomatic responsibilities. The future of human-Orcadian relations, the safety of his child, and the potential for a scientific breakthrough that could change everything, all hung in the balance. With a deep breath, Terry squeezed Faye's hand and turned to face the challenges ahead, knowing that the decisions he made in the next few moments would shape the destiny of two worlds. Worlds would shape the destiny of two species. Terry's mind raced as he processed the gravity of the situation. He turned to Dr. Lyra, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. "We need to proceed with the emergency delivery. The data could be crucial for both our peoples." Dr. Lyra nodded, her multiple hands already moving to prepare the necessary equipment. "Understood. Faye, we're going to start the delivery process now. Are you ready?" Faye's skin pulsed with a mix of fear and willpower as she nodded. "I'm ready." As Dr. Lyra and her team began the delivery procedures, Terry turned to Captain Kraz. "We need to secure this facility. If the Saboteurs are still out there, they might try to disrupt the birth or steal our research." Kraz's posture straightened, his training kicking in. "I'll increase security and begin a sweep of the facility immediately." As Kraz left to implement the new security measures, the sounds of Faye's labor filled the room. Terry held her hand, providing what comfort he could as Dr. Lyra worked tirelessly to safely deliver their child. Suddenly, the facility's power flickered, plunging the room into momentary darkness before the emergency generators kicked in. Dr. Lyra's skin pulsed with alarm. "The virus, it's affecting our systems more than we thought." Terry's comm unit crackled to life with Captain Kraz's voice. "Human Terry, we've detected multiple breaches in the facility's security systems. I'm initiating a full lockdown." As if on cue, the facility's alarms blared to life. The medical bay's doors sealed shut with a hiss, locking them in. "We need to keep working," Dr. Lyra said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "The baby is coming, virus or no virus." Outside the facility, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. Through the sealed windows, Terry could see the clashes between Vex's supporters and pro-human demonstrators growing more violent. The chants and shouts were muffled by the thick walls, but the tension was palpable. Terry's comm unit buzzed again, this time with a message from High Commander Zorn. "Phillips, the situation is spiraling out of control. I'm considering invoking emergency powers to postpone the referendum." Before Terry could respond, Dr. Lyra called out, "The baby's coming! Terry, we need you here!" Terry rushed to Faye's side, holding her hand as she pushed. The monitors around them flickered erratically, the virus wreaking havoc on their systems. "I can see the head," Dr. Lyra announced, her multiple hands working in perfect coordination. "One more push, Faye!" With a final, powerful effort, Faye gave birth to their child. The room fell silent for a moment before a strong cry filled the air. "It's a girl," Dr. Lyra said, her voice filled with wonder. "And she's remarkable." Terry looked down at his daughter, his breath catching in his throat. The baby's skin shimmered with a soft, iridescent glow, a perfect blend of human and Orcadian characteristics. As Dr. Lyra cleaned and examined the newborn, her expression grew increasingly excited. The genetic markers, they're exactly what we hoped for. This could be the key to solving both the fertility crisis and the hormone treatment issues. The moment of triumph was short-lived. Captain Kraz burst into the medical bay, his skin pulsing with urgency. "We've uncovered a hidden explosive device within the facility. It's powerful enough to destroy everything, and it's set to detonate when the referendum polls close." Terry's heart raced as he looked from his newborn daughter to Faye, then back to Kraz. The weight of the decision before him was immense. He could ensure the safety of his family by evacuating immediately, but doing so might mean losing years of vital research and potentially the key to saving the Orcadian species. As he grappled with this impossible choice, his comm unit buzzed once more. The holographic image of Zarkon, the Galactic Federation envoy, appeared before him. "Human Terry, the Federation Council has convened an emergency session. If this crisis isn't determination peacefully within 24 hours, we'll have no choice but to intervene directly." Terry looked at the countdown on his comm unit. The referendum polls would close in just under an hour. With the explosive device ticking away and the fate of 2 species hanging in the balance, he knew the next decision he made would change everything. He turned to Dr. Lyra, his voice filled with urgency. "How quickly can you extract and secure the genetic data we need?" Dr. Lyra's hands were already flying over her instruments. "I can have the essential data extracted and encrypted in 15 minutes. But Terry, what are you planning?" Terry's gaze hardened with purpose. "We're going to save our research, stop that bomb, and show the Orcadian people what our cooperation can achieve. Captain Kraz, I need your help." "Best to assist in the bomb disposal efforts," Terry said, his voice filled with purpose. Dr. Lyra nodded, her hands already moving to secure the vital data. "I'll have everything we need in 10 minutes. Go, Terry. Do what you must." Terry turned to Captain Kraz, his expression grave. "Kraz, I need you to evacuate Faye and our daughter. Get them to safety, no matter what happens." Kraz's skin pulsed with understanding. "Consider it done, human Terry. I'll protect them with my life." As Kraz gently helped Faye onto a stretcher, cradling the newborn in his arms, Terry knelt beside them. He placed a gentle kiss on his daughter's forehead, marveling at the soft, iridescent glow of her skin. "I'll see you soon," he whispered, squeezing Faye's hand before standing up. The medical bay doors hissed open, and Kraz led the evacuation team out. Terry watched them go, his heart heavy, but his determination steadfast. "Terry," Dr. Lyra called, her voice snapping him back to the present crisis. "I've secured the data. Let's go." They raced through the corridors of the facility, the alarms still blaring. As they approached the location of the explosive device, they could hear the distant sounds of the crowd outside, a mix of angry shouts and frightened cries. The bomb was hidden behind a false panel in one of the main server rooms. Terry carefully removed the cover, revealing a complex device that pulsed with an ominous red light. "It's a hybrid design," Dr. Lyra said, her eyes widening as she scanned the bomb with a handheld device. "I've never seen anything like it. It's using both human and Orcadian technology." Terry's brow furrowed as he examined the intricate wiring. "This suggests a level of collaboration we hadn't anticipated. We're dealing with something bigger than just Vex and his supporters." As they worked to understand the bomb's mechanisms, Terry's comm unit crackled to life. High Commander Zorn's voice filled the room, broadcasting not just to them, but to the entire planet. "Citizens of Orcadia," Zorn's voice rang out, steady and authoritative. "I come to you in a moment of great crisis. A bomb has been discovered in our central research facility, threatening not only the lives of those within, but the very future of our world. I am temporarily suspending the referendum, voting, and calling on all Orcadians, regardless of their views on human relations, to unite in the face of this shared danger." Terry and Dr. Lyra exchanged glances as they listened to Zorn's speech. Outside, they could hear the crowd's reaction, A sudden hush followed by murmurs of shock and concern. "We need to focus," Terry said, turning back to the bomb. "The virus is still affecting the facility's systems. We can't rely on any of the standard containment protocols." Dr. Lyra's hands moved swiftly over her instruments. "If we can't disarm it conventionally, we need to think outside the box. Terry, your daughter's unique physiology, it might be the key." Terry's eyes widened as he grasped her meaning. "The energy signature from her hybrid DNA, could we use it to create an interference field?" "Precisely," Dr. Lyra nodded. "If we can replicate and amplify that signature, we might be able to disrupt the bomb's trigger mechanism." As they worked frantically to modify a piece of medical equipment to harness the hybrid energy signature, Captain Kraz returned, his skin pulsing with urgency. "The evacuation is complete," Kraz reported. "Faye and the child are safe. What can I do to help?" Terry looked up from the tangle of wires he was working on. "We need your expertise on Orcadian security protocols. This bomb has elements of both our technologies." Kraz joined them, his trained eyes quickly assessing the situation. Together, the three of them worked against the clock, their diverse knowledge and skills combining in a desperate effort to save the facility and the vital research it contained. Outside, the atmosphere had shifted dramatically. News of the bomb threat had spread, and the once warring factions found themselves united by a common enemy. Pro-human and anti-human demonstrators alike gathered around the facility, their previous animosity forgotten in the face of potential catastrophe. Inside, Terry made the final adjustments to their improvised device. "It's ready," he announced, his voice tense. "But we have no way of knowing if this will work." Dr. Lyra's skin pulsed with a mix of fear and hope. "It's our best chance. Activate it, Terry." With a deep breath, Terry activated the device. A soft, shimmering field of energy expanded from it, enveloping the bomb. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then with a quiet click, the bomb's ominous red light faded to black. "We did it," Kraz breathed, his skin rippling with relief. The news of the bomb's successful disarmament spread quickly. Cheers erupted from the crowd outside, a cathartic release of tension that reverberated through the facility. As the immediate danger passed, Terry's thoughts turned to Faye and their daughter. He needed to see them, to hold them in his arms and assure himself of their safety. But even as he took a step towards the door, he knew his work was just the beginning. The hybrid nature of the bomb raised troubling questions. Who was behind this attack, and how deep did this conspiracy run? Terry exchanged a meaningful look with Kraz, both understanding the implications of what they had discovered. "We need to investigate this further," Terry said, his voice low. "This goes beyond Vex and his known associates." Kraz nodded, his posture straightening with purpose. "I'll begin gathering intelligence immediately. We'll get to the bottom of this, human Terry." As they prepared to delve into this new mystery, High Commander Zorn's voice once again filled the airwaves, announcing the resumption of the referendum with extended voting hours. The events of the day had reshaped the political landscape of Orcadia, but the final outcome remained uncertain. Terry knew that the next few hours would be crucial. As he stood in the heart of the facility, surrounded by the evidence of their narrow escape, he felt the weight of two worlds on his shoulders. The bomb had been disarmed, but the larger threat remained. With renewed perseverance, he prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that the fate of human-Orcadian relations, and perhaps the entire galactic society, hung in the balance. With renewed perseverance, Terry prepared to face the challenges ahead, knowing that the fate of human-Orcadian relations hung in the balance. As the facility's systems gradually recovered from the virus attack, Terry's comm unit buzzed with an urgent message from Captain Kraz. "Human Terry, we've uncovered disturbing information. The bomb appears to be part of a larger conspiracy. I've intensified security around voting stations, but we need to act quickly." Terry's brow furrowed as he processed this new development. He turned to Dr. Lyra, who was still analyzing data from their newborn daughter. "Lyra, what have you found?" The Orcadian scientist's eyes gleamed with excitement. "Terry, your daughter's genetic makeup is truly remarkable. It's not just the key to solving our fertility crisis. It could potentially address reproductive issues plaguing several species in the Galactic Federation." The implications of this discovery sent Terry's mind racing. He realized that the stakes had just become much higher than Orcadian politics. His daughter was now a symbol of hope for multiple civilizations. "We need to inform High Commander Zorn," Terry said, his voice filled with urgency. "This changes everything." As if on cue, Zorn's holographic image materialized before them. "I've been monitoring the situation," the High Commander said, his expression grave. "I'm arranging a secure broadcast to the Galactic Federation Council to present Dr. Lyra's findings. We must emphasize the potential benefits of human-Orcadian cooperation for the entire galactic community." While Zorn prepared for the broadcast, Terry received another alert from Captain Kraz. The security chief's skin pulsed with agitation as he delivered the news. "We've identified a group called the Galactic Purity Front. They're behind the bomb and are planning more attacks. Vex is involved, but he's not the leader. We suspect someone high up in the Galactic Federation is pulling the strings." Terry's lips pursed. The situation was escalating rapidly, and time was running out. "We need to mobilize a joint human-Orcadian task force immediately. Can you coordinate that, Kraz?" "Already on it," Kraz replied, his skin shimmering with persistence. As Terry prepared to join the task force, his comm unit chimed with a message from Faye. Despite her recent ordeal, her voice was strong and resolute. "Terry, I'm coming to help. We need to protect our child and our future." "Faye, it's too dangerous," Terry began, but she cut him off. "I can rally moderate Orcadian factions against the GPF. My diplomatic skills can make a difference here." Recognizing the wisdom in her words, Terry reluctantly agreed. "Be careful," he said softly. Over the next few hours, events unfolded at a dizzying pace. Faye's impassioned appeals broadcast across Orcadian media began to sway public opinion. Meanwhile, Terry and Kraz led their task force in neutralizing several GPF cells across the planet. But the organization proved more formidable than anticipated. As the voting deadline approached, a series of coordinated strikes disrupted power grids and communication networks in major Orcadian cities. Chaos erupted as voting stations went dark. In response, High Commander Zorn's voice boomed across emergency channels. "Citizens of Orcadia, we face a grave threat to our democratic process. I am declaring a state of emergency and extending the voting period. All security forces are hereby ordered to protect voting stations and critical infrastructure." Terry, seeing an opportunity to bridge the divide between humans and Orcadians, suggested enlisting the help of moderate citizens to maintain order and ensure voting integrity. Zorn quickly approved the plan. As they worked to restore order, the Galactic Federation envoy Zaron arrived on the scene. Impressed by the collaborative efforts he witnessed, Zaron authorized the deployment of Federation peacekeepers to support Orcadian security forces. With the combined efforts of humans, Orcadians, and Federation peacekeepers, voting resumed across the planet. Early results showed a significant shift in favor of human-Orcadian cooperation. But the GPF wasn't done yet. As the extended voting period neared its end, Terry received an urgent alert. The extremist group was launching a final desperate assault on the central vote-counting facility. "Kraz, Faye, with me," Terry called out, his voice sharp with urgency. "We need to protect that facility at all costs." As they raced towards the vote-counting center, Terry's mind whirled with the magnitude of the moment. The outcome of this conflict would determine not just his family's future, but the course of interstellar history. The facility loomed ahead, its reinforced walls gleaming in the harsh light of Orcadia's twin moons. As they approached, they could see the first wave of GPF attackers attempting to breach the perimeter defenses. Terry, Faye, and Kraz took up defensive positions, their weapons at the ready. The air crackled with tension as they prepared for the final confrontation with the Galactic Purity Front. "Whatever happens," Terry said, his eyes meeting Faye's and then Kraz's, "we stand together." As the GPF forces charged forward, Terry knew that the next few moments would shape the future of human-Orcadian relations and potentially the entire Galactic Federation. With a deep breath, he steadied his aim and prepared to defend the promise of a united future. As Terry steadied his aim, the first wave of GPF attackers breached the outer defenses of the vote-counting facility. Explosions rocked the building, sending tremors through the floor beneath their feet. Alarms blared, and the acrid smell of smoke filled the air. Terry exchanged a quick glance with Faye and Kraz, their faces set with purpose. In that moment, a realization struck him. This conflict wouldn't be won through firepower alone. "Cover me," Terry said, his voice calm despite the chaos around them. "I have an idea." Faye's eyes widened with concern. "Terry, what are you planning?" "Trust me," he replied, squeezing her hand. "Kraz, I need you to contact Dr. Lyra immediately." As Kraz complied, using his secure comm channel, Terry turned to Faye. "I need you to stay here and oversee the vote count. It's crucial that we protect the integrity of this referendum." Faye nodded, understanding the weight of the task. "Be careful out there." Minutes later, Dr. Lyra arrived, carrying a secure containment unit. Inside, their hybrid child rested peacefully, unaware of the pivotal role she was about to play. Terry took a deep breath, steeling himself for what came next. "Let's go," he said to Dr. Lyra. Together, they stepped out into the corridor, leading to the facility's main entrance. The sound of fighting grew louder as they approached. Terry's heart raced, but his steps remained steady. As they emerged into view of the GPF forces, Terry's voice rang out, amplified by the facility's communication system. "Stop! Before you take another step, there's something you need to see." The sudden appearance of Terry and Dr. Lyra, along with the containment unit, caught the attackers off guard. Their weapons remained raised, but confusion was evident in their postures. Terry continued, his voice clear and unwavering. "This child represents the future, not just for humans and Orcadians, but for countless species across the galaxy." Dr. Lyra carefully opened the containment unit, revealing the infant within. The child's skin shimmered with an otherworldly glow, captivating all who saw her. As the GPF forces stared in awe, Dr. Lyra activated a holographic display. Data streams and complex genetic models filled the air around them. "What you're seeing," Terry explained, "is the key to solving reproductive issues that have plagued multiple species for generations. This child's unique genetic makeup offers hope where there was none before." The attackers began to lower their weapons, murmurs of disbelief and wonder spreading through their ranks. Terry seized the moment, his words gaining momentum. "We stand at a crossroads. The path of isolation and fear leads only to stagnation and decline. But together, we can forge a future of collaboration and progress that benefits all." As Terry spoke, movement at the back of the GPF group caught his attention. A figure emerged from the shadows, his face contorted with rage. It was Drath, the true leader of the Galactic Purity Front. "Lies!" Drath shouted, pushing his way forward. "Don't let them deceive you with their false promises." But Drath's words fell on deaf ears. The GPF forces, many of whom had joined out of misguided fear rather than true malice, were captivated by the sight of the child and the potential she represented. Seeing his cause crumbling before his eyes, Drath made a desperate lunge towards the containment unit. "If I can't have victory, I'll ensure your abomination never threatens our purity again." Time seemed to slow as Drath charged forward. Terry braced himself to intercept the attack, but before he could move, a blur of motion caught his eye. Faye, with a grace and speed Terry had never seen before, appeared between Drath and the child. Her forearms moved with incredible precision, catching Drath mid-lunge and effortlessly subduing him. "You will not harm my child," Faye said, her voice low and dangerous. Captain Kraz quickly moved in, securing Drath with restraints. The defeated leader of the GPF snarled in frustration, but his threats were meaningless now. With the immediate danger neutralized, attention turned back to the referendum. Terry and Faye, along with Dr. Lyra and the child, made their way to the central counting room. The final votes were being tallied, and tension filled the air. As the results appeared on the main screen, a hush fell over the room. Then gradually a wave of cheers erupted. The numbers were clear. A significant majority had voted in favor of continued human-Orcadian cooperation. Terry pulled Faye into an embrace, their child nestled safely between them. Around them, humans and Orcadians alike celebrated, the divisions of the past giving way to a shared vision of the future. As news of the referendum's outcome spread across Orcadia and beyond, Terry knew that their work was just the beginning. The true challenge lay ahead, turning this victory into lasting change. But for now, as he looked at Faye and their child, Terry allowed himself a moment of pure joy. They had taken the first step towards a new era of interspecies cooperation, and the possibilities stretched out before them, as vast and promising as the stars themselves.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.